White played move rook fd1. And okay, now black jumped, knight c5, f3, a5. Now it's very different. Because it is very difficult now to remove this knight. Does black have a plan? Black has a plan. This is b6, rook a7, rook d7, e6 and f5. Your engine will be here enthusiastic with white, but don't believe computer here. Black has actually, with his strong knight on c5, black has play. Black has play, and for white, it is very difficult to build on his space advantage. We are going to see in this game that Keres will not find any active plan. Petrosyan will keep on improving his position. And then game will be very messy. Black is going to end victorious. b3, okay, usually good move, because very often, if you don't want to play move b3, you need to count on this. So b3. Petrosyan here played move queen b6. I think at this moment he was not sure about his plan. Could he do it faster? Probably, to play move like b6. Let's say bishop f1, rook a7. King h1. Okay, white has to sometimes play these preparatory moves. It almost looks like, white position looks like a hedgehog. But different kind of hedgehog, because black has this fianchetted bishop on g7 and this pawn structures a5 and b6. Let's say rook d7. Here again we come to situation that black wants this. If black manages to get this done, black can take over initiative and be better. Again, what is annoying for white is this fortified knight on c5. So white has to absolutely try to kick this knight out. This is crucial. Let's say e6, e3. This shows once more how important was to push b4 to make sure that black knight never comes to c5, and white had the time, and white didn't do it. Because now, okay, this is just a dynamic position. For example, I just want to point out that f5 is not good because takes, and b4, and let's say takes, knight a5, knight e2. White has here winning advantage because black cannot have active play, and many of black pawns are going to be targets. Knight is out of play. Some accidents are going to happen here. Best move for black is queen f6. And let's say rook dc1. a4, because now if you play a4 immediately, b4, knight b3, queen e1. Now on move like a4, b4 loses exchange. So white has to take, and then it is different story. It is important to know that, for example, such a position, takes, such ending. Black usually has a good position by following an idea which Larsen introduced, I think 70 years ago, e5. Because bishops are traded, rook d2, knight e6. And black is okay. No problems. Because, okay, we have these nice pawns on the dark squares. I have this bishop hitting its own pawns. d6 can be defended easily. Knight can threaten to jump to d4. Black is not worse here. So, in the game, Petrosyan played queen b6. Knight b5, rook fc8, bishop f1. I think that white still had to try to find a way to prepare b4, to hit this knight out. It is maybe good to mention that this would be very good for white, because then the black's counterplay is taken out, and I have these ideas. It will be wrong to get impression because of white double pawns that black is doing well. So Petrosyan doesn't want to do it. Bishop f1, queen d8. White will now keep on playing around, and black will keep on improving position. Again, I think it was necessary to try to kick this knight away, to take space with a3 and b4. Queen f2, queen e8, knight c3, b6, rook c2, queen f8. Black has a plan, white not. Bishop d7. Bishop d7 was perhaps not necessary. Knight d5, rook b8, but this knight will be kicked out. Bishop g5, rook e8. F6 was also possible, achieving similar aim, because later on this knight will be kicked out. But rook e8, rook e1, as we see, white does not have a clear plan. If this knight was not on c5, if white had a pawns on a3 and b4, whole story would be different, very different. Rook b7. Queen f2, now Petrosian goes for right plan, bishop c6. Queen h4, and now f6, bishop e3, e6, knight c3, and now, for example, f5 immediately was achieving immediately good play. Because black is starting to take over. White will have to react. So let's say e5 has to react. Now e5 is good enough, because actually active pieces compensate square, which is not easy to use, but g5 is also a good move. Why? Because I would like to utilize the g file and get an attack, like Petrosian got later on in the game. So this is a kind of plan. If black can achieve this, he has a good play. And Petrosian could have achieved it faster, but this was 1959. He had to think it up himself during the game. He could not just open a chess base and have a look at those games. So this kind of plan is good for black. But it is not effective, it is not working, if this knight is not on c5. If this knight is, I don't know, on e6, because I played move b4 on time. So I mean, this plan which Petrosian had is great and is really fine. But if white started with b4 and this knight is stuck on e6, white has space. Simply black cannot execute on this plan. And then black is doomed to long-term passivity. So now I will just only show the rest of the game, because it ended up with a nice tactics. So I think that we understood now strategic part. I would like to show the rest of the game, because it happened, I mean, nice mating attack happened. So bishop d7, bishop d4, f5. Takes. Rook d2. Black doesn't mind to trade bishops here. Bishop d4, rook g7, because black is getting attack. There is a file, there is a bishop. Black has some strange attack which looks like almost like Sveshnikov kind of attack, or maybe King's Indian kind of attack. I don't know how to brand it, but certainly he has an attack. Black king is actually safer than white's. King h1, rook g6, rook d2, rook d8. Petrosian is maybe a little bit too cautious. Queen g7 was possible, hitting a knight, and then being ready whatever white does to play move e5, because rook is protecting a pawn. Queen is hitting a knight. We have a g file pressure. Bishop f3 motifs are popping up. So queen g7 was a good move. Black is simply having very good position now. And all of this is because this whole strategy worked and this strong knight on c5 remained. Rook d8, rook e d1, rook d7, queen f2, queen d8. Queen f6 was fine move. Knight e2, e5. Very good position for black. Because black has attacking possibilities. This is not really weakness. This is of very academic kind of weakness. But queen d8, queen e3, e5. Of course, white is worried about attack. White is worried that he will simply get mated. But you could also see that during the last 20 moves, 25 moves, black is improving his position, white is not doing anything. f4 happened. Probably actually good decision, because otherwise f4 comes and white might get mated. How should black react? To play e4, to take space, but to close the bishop, or not to take space? Here Petrosian made a mistake. He pushed e4, which was wrong. I think that he pushed e4 because he overestimated the power of knight e3. Maybe sacrificing a pawn in order to open up the bishop. I think that he overestimated power of this idea. Queen h4 was leading to good position for black. White has to probably take. Rook h6. Queen g1, d5. Black is having some excellent Sveshnikov type attack. Rook d7, knight d7, knight d5, f4. White king is up, black king is open and very safe. White king is under attack. On queen h4, maybe queen f2 is the best move. Not easy move, because black can take a pawn. Here white is probably going to save the game, but black is better. Okay, black has lousy pawns, but a pawn up. Also, black can play for attack with queen h5. Simply, black has here fantastic position. Excellent Sicilian. Strange enough, Petrosian allowed serious positional mistake. Now white is better. Knight e2. Here very strong move was knight b5. Asking black very tough question. White wants knight e4. And white wants a3 and b4 to hit this knight. Black does not really have a good moves here. This e4 was simply terrible mistake. Probably was time pressure, it was move 39. And this was move 48. If eliminating knight, problem is that this knight cannot stay on c5. You cannot push, because obviously because of pins. It is a pawn, up for nothing. You cannot take because there is this bishop c4. So, okay, d5 is blundering a pawn. Rook d5 is a threat to basically stop any kind of movement. a3 and b4, this knight will not stay forever. And then all the pawns are going to start falling. So, black has managed to create excellent play, but then made huge positional mistake pushing e4, which white did not take with knight b5. Knight e2. Now it's different. Rook dg7. Now this pawn doesn't hang. So white can ignore black a bit. Knight d4, bishop d7. a3. Finally, black wants to push b4. Queen a1. Okay, Petrosian is holding to his tactical motive. That's why he pushed e4. He's holding onto his tactical motive. Again, knight b5 was probably best move. But okay, if white didn't play it a couple of moves ago, it is difficult to change his mind to play it now, but he should have. King g1. Okay, white wants to play some clever moves and then hit black with the b4 at the right moment. h5. The only way for black to improve position. Because bear in mind that jump is still a shot in the dark, because there is no threat. And I can either maybe just take, push, c3. Next move I want to take pawn. Okay, pawn goes, I don't know, takes. but it is not a mate. So also next to the fact that on h5 I can maybe also consider moves like knight f3 to slow you down. But okay, I can take this this pawn because it is not a checkmate, not yet. So h5 first. Clever, because why to hurry with the jump if he can improve? Rook b1, hitting the knight, willing to hit the knight. h4. Again on b4 there is knight d3. Rook bb2, rook g4. Rook f2. Slowly getting ready to play b4. Queen d8. Finally b4. Unfortunately for white, he understood it a bit too late. This necessity. Rook g3, brilliant move. I will here not bother you with computer type of defense, because computer is saying, okay, queen e1 is possibility, and giving here equality, which probably is what Keres had to play. But Keres took because he thought that he would fight off the attack and win the game. Now there is move like rook f3. This is some computer type defense. Very complicated lines. Saving the game, I will just show the main line. This is queen h4. Rook takes g3. Rook h, rook g3, queen e1, knight a4, rook e2. Difficult move because regular move you lose. So rook e2, queen f4. Well, black is a material up, is a pawn up and has attack. Now white needs to find a star move. Knight f5. Bishop f5, rook f2. Okay, if queen goes, obviously I want to take. But what's the problem? Queen h4. It looks like that black is winning. Because if you take rook g2, and okay, you win a piece. You win a queen. White is saving by playing move queen d1. And now gets his material back. Let's say if knight c3, queen d6, collecting pawns and giving checks according to computer zeros. If queen f6, get back the knight, position is about equal. Same material also. How objective is for white to see all those moves, I'm not so sure. So rook f3 was correct answer. Bishop e2 was also apparently working and saving the game, holding some balance. Queen h4, rook f3. Rather somehow unlikely moves to be found by human. Rook fd2 was played. Now question is, all right, how is black going to mate? Queen h4, mate in 1, is a threat. Bishop e2. Knight, okay. Keres does not see mating net, otherwise he would have played move knight f3. Though knight f3, it's obvious after ef3, gf3 that black is doing very well. Like rook, because black is only now exchanged down, attack continues. Still some precision is needed, for example rook h7, threatening mate in 1. Bishop g2, now rook e7, willing to come from this side. Queen d4 only move, check. Bishop moves, knight e6. Queen d6 loses to knight f4 because I'm having this with you. You don't have perpetual check. This kind of check does not solve anything. And taking a queen runs into mate. Or even in a nicer mate. I prefer this one. So queen d5 is the best defense. Now last difficult move is bishop e8. Bishop d7 comes, followed by knight f4, and then some checkmate. Some checkmate happens. So those moves probably Petrosian would find, but in the game was playing with bishop e2, because Keres thought he's escaping mate. He will run with the king, and he is a rook up, knight is hanging. Can you spot a win for black? Black delivers beautiful mate. Rook h7, king f1, and beautiful end of the game. Queen f4. Beautiful end of the game. Keres resigned after queen f4. Really nice game, but I think also strategically important game to understand black's plan. So black has a plan. Black is not a sitting duck. Maybe not easy to organize all these things, but black has a plan. This is a plan. But in order to achieve this slow plan, this, I call it Petrosian patient strategy, this knight needs to be on this square. If white had managed to push b4 and a3, so if white did not allow this, and he was in a position not to allow this, it would have been a very different story. And black would struggle all the game, and we cannot even dream about this thing which he achieved. So pay attention to this. If you have such a kind of position with the white, push b4. Don't allow black to fortify the knight. Now I'm going to show how the Larsen played this position, putting his queen to a5. In this way, trying to stop move like b4.